Well, good morning, Bethel Church. Great to see you all. I love seeing some visitors or some people that I haven't seen for a bit. It's always a joy to be in the house of the Lord together and reconnect. So thanks for being here. I love it. This is our amazing Go Local mission trip team that you guys have supported all throughout the summer with prayer and finances and lots of encouragement. We actually had 28 total students who went on this trip, which, yes, it was a lot. And it was beautiful. And we had a handful of leaders, even some of our leaders that just came for one night to help out with overnight stuff, but it was a wonderful week. In terms of the projects that we did, in case you haven't been here before to hear some of those, we served with 3 different foster families in the area, 2 of which are recently widowed. So we were able to go do a lot of housework projects for them, yard work, really get things cleaned up for them. In a season of life that would be really challenging for them to do too much of that. We served with Project 1649, which is the youth homelessness project, both here in Janesville and the Beloit location. Did lots of different cleanup work for them and mulching and yard work. We went over to Ten Minas Ministry, which is one of our partner ministries, our missionaries, BJ and April Fry. And we did a lot of cleanup work and painted a part of their shed there and tore down a chicken coop, old chicken coop. And then we also went with the Welty Environmental Center out to Big Hill Park. If you've never been to Big Hill Park, you should go. Beautiful little hike out there. But we got to do some work, landscaping, trimming bushes, trimming trees, and just a great trip all around. I have students here that are going to share. I'm going to have everyone at least share their name, and then they'll pass it down. But students, you know the drill. If you have something more to share, you'll step into the middle. Okay? Sound good?
Okay. Hi, I'm Ruth.
I'm Chloe.
I'm Kaisa.
I'm Kinsley.
I'm Mikayla.
I'm Emma.
I'm Aubrey.
I'm Ava, and I do have a story. Okay, I'll step forward.
Yeah. A little bit further. I want to be able to see.
Okay.
We're not dancing.
Okay, that's good. Something that I found very encouraging this week over Go Local was when me and a few of the other girls, we were going around in the neighborhoods around the church. And we were just kind of knocking on doors. We were offering to pray for people. We were letting them know about VBS if they had kids, and we were just telling them about Bethel. And it was getting kind of discouraging and hard to stay motivated because people were at work. It was like 2 p.m. on a weekday, so there weren't many people home. But we recognized one of the houses as someone that we had helped during our fall evangelism project when we were raking leaves for people. So we went up to his door and we knocked and he answered. So we got one, and we just reintroduced ourselves. He remembered us, and I think it was very encouraging to him that we remembered who he was, we remembered his name. We were able to pray for him again, so that was just really cool to be able to reconnect with him.
Awesome. Thanks, Ava.
I'm Kipley.
My name is Jacoby.
I'm Ben.
I'm Andrew.
I'm Hudson.
I'm Grayson.
Come on.
When we were at Janesville for 1649, the workers were telling like stories on how they got into this. And one story that stood out to me was this lady didn't really want to do it at first. Like she didn't really care, I guess, about 1649. But then when she started to do it, she started to like kind of love doing it, and then she just stayed in the organization.
Thanks, Grayson.
My name's Drake. I also have actually 2 things to share. One has to do with Seth, but the first thing is something I found really encouraging, which was on the first day of the missions trip. We went to this nice lady's house. Her name was Jen, and she had a little boy named Isaiah. And so we get to her house, and she introduces us to Isaiah, and he's shy. He's holding on to her leg, and we end up going around in the backyard as she shows us all the work we're going to be doing, and she wants us to basically cut back branches and take down some bushes and shrubbery to open up the yard more so that Isaiah can play in it. And so we get to work, and we're cutting down branches and bushes and stuff like that, and I look over and I see Isaiah peeking out the back door, the screen of the back door, looking at us, and he's looking up in a tree as well. And so I look up in that tree and I see this bright neon orange monster truck in the highest branch of this tree. So I go over to the tree and I'm scouting it out, seeing if I can climb it, which of course I can. So, so I climb up the tree, I grab the monster truck, I come back down, and he's waiting at the door. I hand it to him. He runs back inside just to play with it. But that was really cool. And then we finish up the work, and as I'm leaving, I look back and I see him riding around on this little electric tractor throughout his new spacious yard. And it was just really cool to see that when you're serving someone, it does more help than you can even think of. And just to see the joy on his face when he saw how spacious his new yard was and all the play area he had to deal with, he was just ecstatic, and it was really cool to see. And then the second thing, if you notice, my shirt is the only one with a rip in it. So we were serving at Ten Minas Ministry one of the days, and my job was to carry these big windows with a few people, and we are taking them to a dumpster to then throw out later. But as we're taking them, one of them falls on me and rips my shirt, and I'm devastated because these shirts are awesome. And so my shirt rips. I have to go through the rest of the day like this. And we go back to the church, and then we shower. And as we're hanging out in the FLC over there, Seth comes up to me, and he comes up to me like this. He comes, Drake, what size shirt are you? And I say large, because I'm a large. And he goes, really? And he pulls out this beautiful package of a large Bethel Missions shirt. And on it says Bethel Replacement. And what's funny about it is that nobody ordered it. Nobody had thought about it. They're not usually supposed to send extras. And it didn't even come in the same package as all of the other ones. It came separately in its own box. But it was really cool because it felt like, God saw me and he cared about me during that missions trip. And he cared about me enough to replace even something small like a shirt. So, yeah.
Thanks, Drake. Yeah, I love that because legitimately I asked Mallory who ordered the shirt, and she's like, this came in. I don't know, I didn't order it. She didn't order it. And then I heard about a shirt, and I'm like, no way, God. And it's so silly and small, and yet it shows how awesome our God is to care about a cool shirt that he gets to wear now. So thanks for wearing your beat-up shirt. Come on, Julia. I'm going to hold this again for you. You can do it? All right.
I hope. Okay, hi guys, I'm Julia. I want to go really fast because I don't want to take up too much time. But I just wanted to say that this was my first missions trip. And I noticed something while we were serving. We were serving these helping serve, whatever, with these organizations. And they weren't necessarily Christian organizations. They were more secular. So I just noticed that they were just serving out of a heart, not from God, but just out of a heart that wanted to serve others. And I thought it was just so cool because they don't necessarily know God personally, but he was still in them because of how he designed all of us to be. And I just thought it was so cool. And I went into this week thinking that I was going to learn so much about serving others and I'm going to be the best, just that kind of mindset. And I kind of did learn in a way, but coming out of Go Local, I just realized that his design is so engraved in each person, and it can show through everyone. This just gave me a huge reminder that God is working in all of our lives, even when we can't see it or feel it, and he does it in ways and through people that we never expect. Amen. Woo!
Hey guys, I'm Selah. I'm going to use my notes, otherwise I'll yap for 20 minutes. But this is my third missions trip, and each time I've gone on one, I've learned something important. The first time I did Go Local, I was really little. I was probably first year of middle school, second year of middle school, I don't know. Kerrigan was still in high school, so it's crazy that he's my leader now. But Something that's always recurred would be learning that any time with God is important, no matter how short or how long, before breakfast or after dinner. As long as you have a personal, close time spent with God, your days will always feel so much better. And especially during Go Local, I had struggled with consistency in reading my Bible each day, and it was important for me to learn that even though we don't have a lot of time in the mornings, especially because I'm not a morning person, getting up and just spending 10 minutes, 5 minutes even to read my devotion and go through my Bible was important for the day. Quickly, I'm going to share about my time at Tim Enos. At the start of the day, I was not feeling very well and I did not have much motivation. Those of you who served with me probably knew that I really preferred to paint. And that day, I was not chosen first to paint. The day before, I was also not chosen to paint first, and I really let it affect my attitude. And I was very cranky with everyone, and I did not want that to happen again. I did not want it to change my mindset on why we were doing the work. After picking up some wood and sweeping, and I ended up getting to paint, but I didn't feel as helpful as I had expected. Later on that day, most people from our group went to go spread the gospel, but a few of us had to stay back and finish the work at 10 Minas. I was the few to stay, one of the few. I was exhausted, but I really wanted to help bring everyone to the finish line. Even though it was the hardest part of the day, because there were so few people working, I felt at peace and like I was truly helping, and it made me realize that serving isn't about what you want. If you are truly serving for God, He will use any moment to fill your heart and give you the peace that you need. In that time of tiredness, feeling empty, and not sure what next step to take, God showed me what it feels like to lean on Him during those times and how much we always take it for granted. Or I take it for granted. My overall message is to remember that you should be serving for God and not yourself. In return, God will help you understand what the purpose is. And then, actually, first service, I was scrolling through the Bible app. I was like, I kind of want to add a Bible verse, but I really have no idea where to start. And 4 notifications down, I guess, I saw a verse that Belden saved. It's Galatians 2:20. I have been crucified with Christ. It is no longer I who live, but Christ who lives in me. In the flesh I now live, I did that first service. In the life I live in the flesh, in the life I now live in the flesh, I live by faith in the Son of God who loved me and gave Himself for me. That verse kind of just brought together my whole point of talking today, and it's a good reminder to look back at that verse and be like, oh, God is serving through me. I'm not serving for other people, It's just a good reminder.
Thank you, Selah. I'm going to invite one of our leaders, Kerrigan, to come share. And then there was a student that was here for first service, Peter Burchell, who had to leave. So I really quickly, it's not edited at all, but I quickly recorded his testimony because I wanted you to hear what Peter Burchell had to say.
When I was at Go Local, I grew stronger in my walk with God by being more consistent in reading the Bible and praying more often. And speaking with a gracious tongue, not being angry or anything. Like it says in Colossians 4:6. And I also learned that I should put God first. And somewhere in each day, I have time for God, but sometimes I just don't make time for God. And everyone has time for God, but they just don't make time for Him sometimes. So I encourage everyone to make time for God, even if they have a busy work day. You can either put it in the beginning of your day or at the end.
That's one of our youngest students on the trip, Peter Burchell, otherwise known as PB. He is amazingly beloved by all the upperclassmen, just the youth group as a whole. As you can tell, he just has such a pure heart. My name is Kerrigan. I got to serve as the adult leader for the whole week. It was kind of a trippy but really fun experience, just because back when we did go local in 2023, I was a senior, and a lot of these guys were widow babies. So it's kind of crazy seeing them now in full circle, but it was so cool just to see their growth and maturity. A really fun highlight that I just got to say and kind of peep the curtain here on Deep Youth Ministry. The first half of the week before my beloved co-pilot Eli Bordeaux joined me, I was boarded up here at the church with middle school boys. And so it was a delight. We had fun trying to get ready for bed and lights out. And one of the things that developed this year, because I've kind of been with them for the past several years, is they wanted to try to prank me every night. So I really started growing this paranoia because they would try to duct tape me to my bed, pick my bed up and move it. And I would just sometimes wake up to them just all staring at me. And so I was just like, oh my goodness. And but then, full circle moment, I was avenged by Seth here. The last night, they were fooling around with him, and you don't mess with the big dog, because WWE superstar Pastor Seth came out and gave them the move, what I like to call the reverse P, where he picked up their legs in the air and took a water bottle and ran water straight down their pant leg. Oh, it was awesome. I was just laying there in my bed. I'm like, So that's the Lord takes care of the judgment, folks. But no, yeah, he's not. No. But yeah. Anyways. Yeah, one really big highlight that I just wanted to share with you that was really neat. Well, first, I did just want to give a big shout out and thank you to all your guys' financial and prayer support through this trip. We had the car wash and vacuuming fundraiser back in May. A lot of you were there and just generously gave. And we also had the bake sale in June in the lobby. And so thank you so much for your support, sincerely. You were able to offset the costs for these students behind me, but also provide the materials necessary to bless all these organizations, both Christian and secular, which was really neat. And so one highlight I just really wanted to share with you all is that we were helping out with 10 Minas Ministry. It was towards the end of the week. And I was really just dealing with some internal discouragements. And I was working on my own a lot that day. And so I was just in the midst of prayer and speaking with the Lord, seeking after Him. And I just felt the Holy Spirit pierce me with this image of, I was on the Spain missions trip back in 2022. And there was this really neat thing where we were cleaning a respite home and preparing it to be used as a halfway house for missionaries that need a place of rest and comfort and retreat if something unfortunate or hurtful happens while they're out on the field. And we would take a moment after all the cleaning sessions and just circle up as a group in front of the house and just bathe it in prayer. So then I felt the Lord put on my heart. I'm like, this is what we need to start doing at the rest of our mission sites. So I went up to P. Seth and I was like, I gave him the idea, and he was like, oh yeah, dude, let's do that during lunch. And so then after our lunchtime, we had BJ and April and their two other colleagues who serve on the ministry just share like what prayer requests they have, and we just gathered up in different groups, and it was just awesome. Almost every student just took a turn to pray. And we just bathed their ministry in prayer, which was just a powerful moment. And then we took that further into the next day and the rest of the week. And a really special moment I wanted to highlight is that, as Seth mentioned earlier, we had the Welty Environmental Center down in Big Hill Park that we helped clean up. And the director there, as we'd always kind of touch base as kind of a final goodbye, send off, and be together as a group. And we'd also just like share our heart of why we're doing this. And so then we finally introduce this element of, hey, is it okay if we just pray for you? And you could tell that there was some positive peer pressure because you got a big group of 30-something people all just looking at her like, can we pray for you? And so then she said yes, and you could tell at first there was kind of that resistance, a little awkwardness. It was all right. And then we had one of our high school female students who isn't here with us this morning, but she prayed for the director. And it was just the most simple yet just like amazing prayer of just love, and just it was really neat. And we even asked for a prayer request, and she shared one about like the weather because it can kind of harm their prairie fields and stuff like that. And so she just lifted this request up to her, and after that prayer, you just saw the barrier of her face just like break, and you saw even some tears welling up. It was like an emotional moment, and you could see that actually the Lord used that prayer to really pierce her heart in that moment. And then when we kind of started heading back, filing into our vehicles, then she actually gave a big hug to the female student and said, "Thank you so much. Like, I've never had someone say those words to me." And then what's really neat is that my newly acquired father-in-law was actually the one who connected us to her. And she actually sent a text message to him which he sent me a screenshot saying, "I actually just finished up with the Bethel kids and they were amazing. I have never been prayed for after a work day. It was super sweet to end on that energy." So that just really shows you how neat that was to be able to just do that for her, and just the way that prayer can actually just really change the heart and plant that seed of curiosity. And so it took her to the next step of even sharing about it with my father-in-law. So that was really neat and special. So.
Yeah, Carrie, again. So I'm going to invite Ed to come up. Ed is a part of our physical benevolence group. So if you don't know, we have financial benevolence, but we also have the physical side, where a group of guys have been going around helping with basic needs around the house, or maybe assessing troubles with your car. And so there was the first day when we went to 3 different houses spread across Milton and Janesville. I needed some additional help, so I reached out to the physical benevolence group, and we had a couple of them come out and help, including Ed. He really took charge of one of the sites for me, which was a huge blessing, so I could go and do oversight at the other locations. And he had an interesting time with the students, and I thought this would be a great opportunity for you to be able to share from the outside, kind of looking into the youth ministry, because I'm a little biased, but you came in unknowing any of these students. So go ahead and share your experience.
We'll switch. Yeah, my name is Ed. My wife Peggy and I have been going to Bethel now for almost a year. And we became almost attached from day one because of who you all are and how welcome you made us feel. And then the second one were all of these young people that we kept seeing, and this side over here mainly. But they, I've never witnessed young people with as much enthusiasm for the Lord as these people I ran into. But we got to our assigned area, and the lady came out with her young son, and they showed us what needed to be done. And we kind of all looked at each other like, we're going to get this done in one day. But the worst thing was we had so many bushes and trees to trim and so forth, and we had everything we needed except a saw. And the only saw we had was at the end of the pole trimmer. But it really looked like an urban jungle. Very little light coming through, and so it was a daunting task. All of the tools that we had plenty of shovels, we had plenty of rakes, we had plenty of loppers to trim the edges. And however, we soon were limited from 4 shovels to 2, because some of these young, strong young men and women happened to break 2 of the shovels within 20 minutes of being there. But then we started out, and the biggest thing that I had to do was to train some of the people with how to work with the loppers and the saw at the end of this bending object. But we managed to do that. There was so much that had to be cut and trimmed that several of the kids, young men, would work on cutting it. And you need a rest? Yeah, I'll take a rest. And so we kept on, and nobody quit. Nobody was upset that they had to do this and they couldn't do that. But the things that really happened that just all by themselves. But some of what we had to do was to cut all these things down, put them on in piles, and then other people would move them out. And without them moving them, it would just been mass piles of trees and such. One of the things that we noticed that there was hardly any light in the back of this area, but there was soon a lot of light because all of these people worked together and transformed that backyard from a jungle to what it was. One of the things that I don't think that they realized, but someone on the outside, such as myself, noticed that all of the things that were done were not gone unnoticed. The young woman who had the house, she couldn't believe how much we did in that day. And I don't think that these young people behind me realized that none of it could have happened if they would have been by themselves. If all of them working together is what happened. I wish that there was so much going on in the background and everybody wanting to get the day over. It was warm, it was hot, and so everybody just kind of went their way back to the church. And I really wished I could have taken time to thank each and every one of you. How proud I was of you and how you stuck together and just worked and worked. So I'm glad I had this second chance. But the light that came back into that backyard was just amazing, and how much of the house you were able to see after everything got out of the way. I'm not really one much for memorizing verses in the Bible, but I ran across a couple that really seemed to hit. The first one is 1 Peter chapter 4, verse 10. As each has received a gift, use it to serve one another as good stewards of God's varied grace. The second is Ecclesiastes chapter 4, verse 9 and 10. Two are better than one, because they have a good reward for their toil. For if they fall, they will have someone else to lift them up. And I just wanted to say thank you to all of those people that are behind me, because they learned from me, but I think importantly, I learned a lot from them also. So thank you.
All right, I'm just going to go ahead and have the students exit the stage, and while they do that, we're going to watch a little highlight video from the trip, and then we just have a couple of closing thoughts that I'm going to have June Eddy share with me as well.
It's day one of Go Local, and today we're helping serve by helping a local family with their yard work and repainting their porch.
awesome. It was truly an amazing week. We had so much fun. One of the things that wasn't shared earlier, but the students every single day, at any point we were back at the church, a couple of them would pick up some instruments in the Family Life Center and they would just begin worshiping. And so it was like anytime we were in the church, there was at least 1 to 5 students. And then on the final night, there was like a cello or 2 cellos, there was a banjo, a trumpet, guitarist, two cajones going, and we just had a beautiful worship night. Unprofessional, but all given to God. It was just a beautiful time. We have just 3 quick points that we want to share with you as we close to send you out with this idea of mission. And what do we learn from the students? I mean, I learned a lot from that week. The first one is this, the harvest, and it comes from John chapter 4, verses 34 through 38. This is after Jesus has just interacted with the woman at the well, and he's just shared basically himself with her. And now she's so excited that she's returning to go to tell everyone in Samaria about meeting Jesus. And as the disciples come, they said, "Rabbi, you need to eat." And in verse 32, he says, "I have food to eat that you don't know about." And the disciples said to one another, "Has anyone brought him something to eat?" And he says to them, "My food is to do the will of him who sent me and to accomplish his work. Do you not say there are yet 4 months and then comes the harvest? Look, I tell you, lift up your eyes and see that the fields are white for harvest." And what I love about this simple reminder for us today is maybe we're familiar with that passage of the woman at the well, but as the disciples are returning back, they see this woman and they're like, what is Jesus doing talking to her? And then their mind simply goes straight to, well, we're not going to ask about that, but like, here, eat some food. And they totally miss the point. And what Jesus is saying is like, you walked by this woman who was ready to hear the gospel, and you didn't even see it. And I don't know about you, but there are a lot of times in my life that I'm hungering after things that are probably not what God wants for me in that moment. That my eyes can be so fixed on what I want to do and what I want to accomplish and the things that I think need to happen that I forget to look up and see that the fields are ripe for harvest, that they are ready, that people in Janesville, that people in Rock County, that people across the world are ready to hear the gospel. And so I shared in the first service that I go to the YMCA, try to go twice a week. And when I go there, it's because a pastor told me, hey, as you become a pastor, make sure you have regular interactions with non-believers. Make sure you're rubbing shoulders. And so I joke with my friends because I only wear 1 AirPod, and they're like, that's so weird. Why would you talk to people at the gym? But I have probably met 10 people, and they all want to hear. They are all wanting to know about my life and for me to ask them questions and to share. Like, people right here in our neighborhoods are ready to hear. But so often, I don't think we're up looking around and seeing that the fields are ripe. So that's my first encouragement to you, is that the harvest around you, wherever you are placed, is ready. Don't be afraid. Share the gospel boldly. And I've asked June, she was one of our seniors on the trip, and she's going to share the second point about the workers.
All right. Like you said, I'm June. So Pastor Seth asked me to talk about the workers, and the passage is Matthew 9:35 through 38, so I'll read it. Jesus went through all the towns and villages, teaching in their synagogues, proclaiming the good news of the kingdom, and healing every disease and sickness. When he saw the crowds, he had compassion on them because they were harassed and helpless, like sheep without a shepherd. Then he said to his disciples, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." So in verse 37, it says, "The harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few." So who are the workers? The workers are the builders of the kingdom of heaven, his followers who spread the word, spread the gospel, and share the love of Jesus. So in the passage, he's talking to his disciples, but he's also talking to all of us who follow him, because we've all been called to go and make disciples in Matthew 28:19. So then the next question is, why are there few workers? Because it says the harvest is plentiful, but the workers are few. In the Sermon on the Mount, Jesus says that wide is the gate and broad is the road that leads to destruction, and many enter through it. But small is the gate and narrow the road that leads to life, and only a few find it. It's Matthew 7:13 and 14. Few choose to truly follow Jesus and follow his calling, which is to love him, love others, and make disciples. Another reason that there are few workers is because serving is hard work. Harvesting is hard work. Working can be tiresome. It requires sacrifice and selflessness. It can make serving the Lord feel hard or even impossible, which is one of the reasons why there are few workers. It says in Galatians 6 that we should not become weary in doing good, for at the proper time we will reap a harvest if we do not give up. Verse 10, therefore, as we have opportunity, let us do good to all people, especially those who belong to the family of believers. This was a verse, our key verse from the Minnesota trip a few years ago, and it's really stuck with me and how I'm learning to serve and give my life for the Lord. So serving the Lord can be hard work physically, emotionally, and especially spiritually, which can make it really hard to continue serving the Lord, and I know this from personal experience. So I've been on 5 mission trips now. I went to Minnesota twice. I went to Spain last year, and then I've done 2 Go Local trips. And then the last 2 years, so last year at Spain and this year were the 2 hardest years by far. I've been battling health challenges my whole life, but they've really presented themselves in the last couple of years. Last year, just a few weeks before we were supposed to leave for Spain, I got really sick, and I missed the last week of junior year, so I missed all the finals and everything. And that was like 3 weeks before we were supposed to leave. So I remember telling my parents the week before we were leaving for Spain that there was no possible way that I could go. I was too weak. It was too much. I could not travel internationally for the first time ever when I was this sick. But by God's grace, I got there. I limped my way, like I pretty much physically crawled and limped my way into the church van through the airports, just walking step by step. But there was just deep knowing that I was supposed to be there. The Lord had physically paved every step of the way. He provided financially. He provided just all of the logical questions of things, and all I had to do was get my butt to Spain. That was all he was asking me to do. So I did not feel like I could do it. I was unqualified, it was all things, but I made it there with the help of my parents and my family and all my team members, and it was quite honestly a miracle. So that week was, to say the least, really hard. I was so weak physically, emotionally, and truthfully at the time spiritually, but the Lord had gotten my body there, so I put a brave face on, and I did the things we were scheduled to do. I did them weak, I did them shaky, I did them anxious, but I did them. And I remember having panic attacks when I would get back to my room because I was not doing well emotionally, and I laid on the floor at the church every morning because I was so weak while they were all dancing, and it was great. But the Lord worked so mightily that week, even when I was miserable, and I could not see it at the time. We held a worship night at the church, and it was nothing like I had ever experienced before. The Lord's presence was so evident. He was working in me while I was playing piano on the team. He was working in the other members of our worship team, and he was very just evident in the room. It was definitely my favorite part of the trip because I felt like I could see a glimpse of why the Lord had me there. That trip changed me in a way I can't explain. God was showing me that I couldn't do it on my own. He was showing me that serving him wasn't about my strength or ability, because I had none. And it was just about giving him all I had and letting him use it. It was about him using me in my lowest moment. He showed me that no matter how tired, how weak, how unqualified I feel, he still works. I just have to get out of the way and let him do his thing. 2 Corinthians 12:9 says, "But he said to me, my grace is sufficient for you, for my power is made perfect in weakness." So this year, the Go Local trip had similar physical challenges, not as bad, but also very different ones. Both before and during the trip, I struggled to feel like this trip was important for me. It felt selfishly like a waste of time because I was thinking about all the things I had to do this summer to prepare for college and all the things. So I was like, I'm just doing it because I kind of, my mindset was I'm doing it because it's what I'm supposed to do. That's just kind of how my brain works. I don't know. I still felt weak and tired, but I showed up anyways. This trip, the Lord showed me that serving won't always feel like mountaintop moments. And I consistently felt like I didn't do enough, that I wasn't doing well enough for God to work. But he is showing me, as I look back, that the impact of love and the joyful hearts that we shared was more important than any of the work we did, the amount we got done, the quality of the work, or how low I felt. He can and will move regardless of how much physical work we get done. It didn't matter how unaccomplished I felt because it was never about me. It's about the fact that the Lord's kingdom was impacted, and I may never see how, but his love was shown to the people and organizations we served. And that's the whole point. 1 Corinthians 15:58 says, "Therefore, my dear brothers and sisters, stand firm. Let nothing move you. Always give yourselves fully to the work of the Lord, because you know that your labor in the Lord is never in vain." So if we can have the humility to trust that the Lord will build his kingdom and know that it isn't about how we feel or how well we do, serving the Lord can become a joy instead of a burden. So last part of this is in verse 38. It says, "Ask the Lord of the harvest, therefore, to send out workers into his harvest field." So Jesus said to pray for more workers, more people to help harvest, and that's what we're doing today. So he's calling us to pray that the Lord will bring more people to follow him, and that then they would share their faith and encourage other peoples to follow him, and so on and so forth. This also requires trust that the Lord will do it. I can share my faith, but I can't save anyone. That's all the Holy Spirit. On the trip, I found that it was really easy to get lost in my head while I was pulling weeds or doing various, mostly outside projects. So I found that it was a good time to pray for the people we were serving. Praying for them, that the Lord would work on their hearts, open their ears to the gospel, and that they would be saved. I would pray that they would see the Lord in us, and that they would see that we were different, that there was something different about us, and that we would be vessels for him to grow his kingdom. This is what we're called to do everywhere we are: work, in the community, service projects, school, all the things. So as I've been thinking about going to college soon and leaving high school and youth group behind, I've been reminded that my responsibility in these places doesn't end. I should still be praying that God will build up more students at Craig to share the gospel and show his love. And I should continue to pray for the student leaders and the worship leaders in the youth group, that they would build others up and continue to share the love of Jesus, and that more and more students would come to know Christ. So my mission doesn't end because I'm in a new season. It just changes how it looks.
Yeah, that's so good. Amen. That's awesome. I'm going to invite the worship team to come up, and we're going to respond with a song. So the third point is the answer. So if you're following along on the notes or on the online handout, and I put the book of Acts. Because if you want to write one thing in there about the answer to that prayer, pray that there be more workers, the answer you can just put in is M-E. It's you. It's us. It's the church. Like Jesus said, pray for more workers because the fields are ready. And then in the book of Acts, we see this take place. And we see that the church goes forth. We see missionaries. We see simple ways of reaching out to neighbors. We see a beautiful picture of who we should be. Some of you may be called to the mission field overseas, and some of you may be called to the mission field at your dental hygienist office. Both are callings by God to share the answer, the good news of Jesus. Amen. So would you stand? We're going to conclude with the song, "Lead Me to the Cross," which really is the reflection of what we need to do as we follow after him.